really distinctive sound of the opening, of course, to James Taylor's Something in the Way She Moves. This is a song and a lesson that shows off pretty much all of the things that we love about James Taylor. Cool little intro, nice little licks, done on a couple of different chords, some strumming stuff, some odd bass notes. Can't even stop now, it's so much fun to play this song. But what I was mostly here to tell you about with this was that after a long time of requests, people have been asking for me to get to more James Taylor songs, and this lesson on Something in the Way She Moves is up now at TotallyGuitars, and we look at it in really fine detail, taking a look at 6 pages worth of tablature that I worked meticulously at. But I mostly try to have people learn this from learning the chord progression first, just being able to pick through it at a very simple, getting a feel for the chord progression first, but then we have a really close, or really tight close-ups showing all of the little nuances and everything in there. Matter of fact, here are a couple of clips from the video coming up. But really encourage you to come check this out at TotallyGuitars, and it's part of the Target program there, where we have probably close to 500 songs now of various degrees. Some are very easy. This one is not one of the easier songs, as you might guess, because most of James Taylor's stuff is fairly free form and improvised, and a lot of the structure to it is whatever the heck he feels like hitting at any given time. Sometimes he breaks into strumming, sometimes he pulls out nice little hammer-ons, sometimes he keeps pounding away on the same bass note, which gives a nice effect as well. So we have a lot of other easy stuff up there, and a lot of it is in our free section at the TG Free Lessons channel here at YouTube. But coming up, a couple of little excerpts from the lesson, but it's very extensive, 10 or 15 parts probably, can't even remember now, that goes on and on and on, that breaks down James Taylor's song, Something in the Way She Moves. If you'd like to see it, it's up in the Target program now. Something in the way she moves, or looks my way, or calls my name, it makes me leave this troubled world behind. And if I'm feeling down and blue, or troubled by some foolish game, this has been a popular request here for a long time at TotallyGuitars, and I'm really actually really excited to be able to get to some James Taylor songs. It's been a while. So this is, of course, Something in the Way She Moves, one of his, well, earliest tunes. It's actually one of the songs that he recorded on his very first album that was put out by Apple Records back in 1968. It was called James Taylor, and had this great gatefold sleeve that opened up. Nice picture of him out there laying out in front of the studio. Lyrics to everything on the inside, kind of cool stuff. And included a couple of other notable songs. One was, of course, Carolina in My Mind. And that was the first recording that he did of that. It showed up again later on his Greatest Hits CD. So you can find this now there, but those were different recordings than what he did for the Apple label. When Warner Brothers made one to put out a Greatest Hits, his next albums were put out on Warner Brothers for many years throughout the 70s. And when they wanted to put out a Greatest Hits CD, Apple said no to their 2 recordings of Carolina in My Mind that included Paul McCartney playing bass on it and singing, and Something in the Way She Moves. So he just simply re-recorded them. So what you've probably heard more commonly is the re-recordings that were done for the Greatest Hits album, and that's more what we're going to be looking at here. I did a few things there when I just played through it. One little run that doesn't appear on the remade version, but of course. Oh, while I'm showing you albums, I'll show you another one. Another one of my prized possessions. An album of his from a live concert in 1971, where he played a bunch of these songs. This came out just before You've Got a Friend was a big hit, and put out by the very famous Rubber Dubber record company. So this is called Isn't It Nice to Be Home Again, and included some early stages of him playing some songs, and a kind of cool, pretty classic picture. Many people have seen that picture. It's from this album. song is revolves around an A chord. I've now taken the capo off, so we're going to be looking at the rest of this lesson without the capo, but James plays it, of course, capo to the 3rd fret, as I did in the preview here. But just so you don't have to go find your capo and we can be in tune, we'll be looking at everything without it. Now, the song revolves around A, but it's not really in the key of A as far as the key signature goes because it uses more chords from the key of D. I might talk about that more as we take a look at the tablature, but it doesn't really matter too much. Now, I really recommend playing an A chord like this, with your first finger on the 3rd string and your second on the 4th and your 3rd on the 2nd. Now, James Taylor does not play his A chords that way. He typically plays it the same way one might finger A minor, but with his first finger slid up to the 2nd fret. Now that's a tight squeeze getting it in there. He feels that it makes it easier for him to get one of his classic signature hammer-ons using his first finger for that hammer-on on the C sharp on the 2nd string. There is really no advantage to doing that as opposed to playing it this way and doing the hammer-on with your 3rd finger. James Taylor's right-hand technique includes a few different techniques that are, or his set of techniques, I guess, has got quite a few components to it. And the biggest one is he uses his 3 fingers and his thumb, so a set of 4 fingers really, thumb and 3 fingers, to as pretty much independent elements. And he definitely does not ever anchor his little finger here because he uses his 3rd finger for a lot of notes, and that's a really important thing in any kind of picking. He occasionally does a steady alternating pattern. A standard Travis picking where you're keeping your thumb alternating back and forth on beats and your fingers playing in between. But not very often does he do that. So the thumb is a little bit more free form. He will play any of the 3 bass strings and maybe even the 3rd string occasionally with his thumb. Doesn't really happen in this song. But he does some patterns where he just keeps playing the same bass note, pounding away. And we hear that in the 2nd measure of this song, of the intro. So just constantly pounding on the 6th string right. One of the first keys to any song, not just something in the way she moves, is having a really good understanding of the chord progression before you worry about everything else, the right-hand stuff, the embellishments, and especially with the James Taylor song. So taking a look at the chart, I want to kind of go through the chords and don't even look at the tablature yet. We just want to get the chord progression in our head and work through it just grabbing the chords so that you can hear the harmony and how the melody would work over it. So, and again, we're doing this uncapoed as opposed to the way he plays it, capoed at the 3rd fret. You can eventually put the capo wherever you want for your voice to work out the best, but if you want to play along with him, capo up at the 3rd. And I would even recommend trying that with what I'm about to have you do here, which is just grabbing the chords as he plays through the song. Now, we looked at the chords in the left hand close-up, and I mentioned that the song revolves around an A chord. But it doesn't use all chords from the key of A. It uses a couple of chords that are outside the key of A. As a matter of fact, all of the chords except one are really in the key of D. So my tablature to this and notation is written with only 2 sharps in the key of D. The main chord that he uses that breaks this pattern is an E minor. So instead of using an E major that would be in the key of A, he uses E minor that gives us chords from the key of D. This sort of makes this song modal, putting it in the Mixolydian mode. I'm going to save that topic for other lessons where I've already talked about it and stuff too. But in a nutshell, this song is in A Mixolydian mostly. So taking a look at the first verse, in the first measure we have 4 sets of 8th notes on the A chord, very simple picking pattern there. You're just going to hit straight arpeggio, and then slide up to the E minor 9. This one's a quarter note, so we're going to hold it for 2 8th note beats. I would just as soon sometimes play the G in there as part of that, giving us the real minor 9 sound, and then coming back to the A chord. And this quick 8th note at the end is really kind of a hint at the strumming that's about to happen in the 2nd measure. So we've got straight picking in the beginning and he really lets go of the A chord early, and that E should be part of a strum. So the second measure is mostly strumming, that type of you know, just brushing the strings with your index finger, or again, I mentioned that I would usually do this where I would do the downs with my middle two fingers and the ups with my first finger. The bridge starts on D and really has a lot of strumming in it as well, and just some simple little hammer-ons and stuff from and pull-offs on the D chord, less on the A chord because it really revolves around D. So it opens up on our D chord with just notes, eighth notes on the beats, 1, 2, 3, then a little bit of a strum. Here's what we have just in general. Here's the overall feel. The most important part in this is hearing the bass notes. Back to C, G6 with B in the bass, to E minor. Well, you've got it now, right? Threw away the tablature, memorized everything in there, and now we're just going to wing it and take a look at the chart and maybe the lyrics. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is here and see if this works. Probably good chance I'm messing up the chords, messing up the words, messing up the picking, but I'm just going to try to make something musical out of this. Something in the way she moves, or looks my way, or calls my name, makes me leave this troubled world behind. And if I'm feeling down and blue, or troubled by some foolish game, she always seems to make me change my mind. And I feel fine anytime she's around me now. She's around me now, just about all the time. And if I'm well, you can tell she's been with me now. She's been with me now quite a long, long time, and I feel fine. So there you have the way I would play it, or the way I did play it today. Tomorrow it could sound completely different. I noticed I put in a couple of things that that there is less of in there. A little bit more percussion. I tried to give it a little more driving sound. By when I was hitting the strings, I was kind of hitting them particularly crisply with my nails to get a little bit more drive in there. And I did forget to mention the little fill that came from the original Apple album of his on the D chord in the last measure in the halfway point of the verse. Very simple. Little arpeggio on the D chord, add the C in the bass, same thing, 4 notes, and then B,